This is RamView update from December the 15th, 2025. RamView wrap up, I guess we can say. Rams pulled off a big win yesterday. They beat the Detroit Lions 41-34.
Stone groove, my man.
It was a stone groove. I've been told to use stone groove more. I guess it's really popular. But the Rams pulled off a great victory. But before we get to RamView update, RamView review, RamView wrap up, let's remind everybody that this is brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Get the compensation you deserve. Check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Be sure to click on that QR code. And also by Game Day and the Ram Cave. Be sure to check that one out. Fictional. Rams play the Packers in the NFC title game. Be sure to follow up on that. I wrote that book. Came out about a year ago. Okay, back to it. Rams beat the Lions 41-34. I don't think even during the course of this game, if there was a moment where I was really worried about the Rams. There was a couple moments there, but I'm going to get to it. Rams interior line versus Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader. Give them full props. The offensive line did its job. The interior guys, I've been really hard on Coleman, Shelton, and all that. They did a really good job. They did a really good job against a pretty good inside line there. And that was great. You saw the Rams run the ball. They did really well. And then, of course, Warren McClendon held up really well against Aiden Hutchinson. And then, of course, Alaric Jackson, who left the game briefly. It looked like he was injured, but I guess it was a cleat malfunction. Otherwise, DJ Humphries got his first snap of the year. Otherwise, all the offensive linemen played. They all finished the game. That was really good. The offense, of course, looked great, and the team looked exactly how it should have looked against a defense like the Lions that was really banged up at the end of the contest there, even before when they came into the contest. Here's the negative, and you see it all over the place right now. And I'm telling you, you're not seeing, if you're agreeing with them, you're not seeing the same thing. People with no eyes will look and say it's the Rams secondary, and they'll throw shade at Forbes and Durant and all those guys. Let me remind you, first of all, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams are elite. They are elite. Get Jared Goff, when standing up and untouched, is an elite passer, okay? So the question you have to ask is, why was Goff standing up and basically untouched the whole first half of that game? Should we wait? I'll say it. They didn't get home, and that was one of the issues we brought up last week. The Rams pass rush is not getting home. Now, on a whole, the defense was much better in the second half. Remember, the final score was 41-34. It was 24-17 at the half. Let's also recall that their first touchdown came as a result of the Matthew Stafford turnover, which was a fluke and everything, and that led to a touchdown. But let's remember this. In the second half, the Lions got a field goal, and then on a 4th and goal, they got literally a give me. Now, again, I heard people bagging on Emmanuel Forbes saying he gave up a pass interference in the end zone. Even McVay said it was a ticky-tack call. Literally, that call came in so late, I could have read the entire book of Leviticus by the time that call came in, and that basically handed the Lions another touchdown. So the defense did its job. So, all right. But when you're talking about the second half there, the Rams barely started getting home a little bit, but they're not getting home consistently. And this is going to sound like heresy. I've been thinking it for a while, and I finally am going to say it right now. I've shared it with some friends yesterday. I think the Rams pass rush is a little bit overrated. There, I said it. I think it's a little overrated. And what you're seeing play out in the secondary is the fact that Amon-Ra St. Brown has the time to cross all the way and go all across the field and get open. He's going to get open. Elite receivers will get open if their quarterback is not taken down. And Jared Goff is a statue. We know that as Ram fans. And it really wasn't until the second half they started putting the wood to him, and then everything dried up. right? Suddenly the secondary looked better. Everyone looked better after that. The Rams pass rush is too inconsistent. We got elite talent there, but they got to start finishing these suckers off, and they're not finishing them off. They're not, and that could be a problem going forward just a little bit. Bill, what player? Let me see here, Bill. I'll take your question. Let's see. What do we got? All right, there's Bill. What player or players are the reasons the Rams aren't getting home? I don't know exactly what it is. I can't say it. We know Verse isn't, but Verse is always doubled and triple team. You see them a lot of times. They have a shot at somebody and they miss, or they just can't finish it off. I don't know what it is, but we've basically all drank the Kool-Aid or the coffee, agreeing that the Rams pass rush is elite, and I'm one of those guys. But where's it at when we need it? And I'm all Byron Young, but you also know I'm hypercritical of Micah Parsons. I think sometimes the sack stat can be a little misleading. And so yeah, I can't really say for sure, Bill. But we're just seeing they're not finishing. I think we've seen more conductor the last few weeks, but we're just not seeing we just see by and large they're not finishing, right? Pony Express, that's the issue. All right, Pony Express agrees. Thank you, Pony. Where are you at? That was the issue. No pressure was out on Goff until the third quarter. Yeah, that's when they finally got something going on him, and then things changed. The second half, literally, let's just say it. Let's be honest. They held the Lions to 3 points. They got a really gift call in the end zone. And at the end there, when they called that on Forbes, which, like I said, I could have probably read the whole Torah by the time that flag was thrown. All right, let's move on a little bit here because we do like to keep it short. Colby Parkinson. Right. Oh, by the way, he scored 2 touchdowns. But his rundown of Aiden Hutchinson probably gives you the best insight why the Rams signed him. That dude's all character, right? That dude is all character. And I'll note to the KBM, because I listen all off season. We work all off season. You guys probably paid attention all off season. Do you remember how everyone was labeling Colby Parkinson a bust? That the Rams gave him too much, like 3 years, 22 rocks is too much money, right? He was labeled a bust, right? What do you think about Colby Parkinson now? And I don't say that necessarily to you guys. It's kind of rhetorical. But to the KBM, the Kiss Butt Media, what do you think about him right now? I did see a headline, Atwell doesn't contribute. Did you see the catch Tutu Atwell made on when it looked like Stafford was throwing the ball away? Let me tell you something. We know Atwell's fast. That catch demonstrated Atwell has hands. That's on McVay. It's on McVay. If you're not targeting Atwell, you're not getting him involved in the offense. I'll say it again. He can catch the ball, and he's really fast, right? What's the issue here? The issue is McVay can't figure out how to work him in the offense. So you can say, let's move off of Atwell. I'll agree. You can say, let's trade Atwell. I'll agree. But if you call Atwell a bust, if you say Atwell's no good, then you're just going along with the KBM and ridiculous constructs of thought. He's not a bust. He's not a bum. Maybe miscast, maybe misdrafted, definitely misused, but Atwell can play football. That catch was beautiful along the sideline there, down at his ankles. Yeah, that one really bothers me. I'm very Atwell protective. I'd like to see him move on and go somewhere. You know, Kansas City should have made a deal for him, and maybe their season could have looked a little bit better this year. Maybe even the Steelers should have made a deal for him. So yeah, I want to throw that out there for people to ponder. All right. We've also talked about this for the last couple of weeks since we're talking about wide receivers. We saw Adams pull up and leave the game. That was awful, right? You just didn't want to see it, man. It was just awful. You saw him pull up and leave the game. The encouragement was, you know, he walked off the field, walked to the locker room, and they're saying he's not done. I doubt very much he's going to play on Thursday. To me, he's a guy you save until the second week of January, or if you get home field advantage, the bye, you save him until the third week of January, right? You just don't let him play, and he's going to be just fine. But here was the interesting thing. Adams goes down. On the very next series, it looked like Nakua got hurt. Now, it turned out to be cramps, but how did you feel? In that one moment, did you see how fast it can change? And I saw Alaric Jackson go out, and I knew DJ Humphries was there. I didn't stress, right? If something happened to Kyron, you got Blake. If something happens to Blake, you got Kyron, right? If something happens to McClendon, you got Havenstein. You got backups everywhere, right? But not in that wide receiver room. And I think until someone else emerges, that wide receiver room is vulnerable. And I don't know if it was Blaine Grisick or somebody out there who follows the Rams posted, would the Rams kick the tires on OBJ? It's a possibility. I think it might be a little late, but I think if they kick the tires on an OBJ, that would tell you what they think about Adams coming back. And so I'm not sure if they're going to do that exactly if they remain optimistic on this. All right, let's keep going. We got some questions coming in here. Let's see here. Boom, 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 boom. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at this. I missed a lot of your questions. I feel bad about that right there. The great Tim Burns. Colby catching 2 touchdowns was nice. His touchdown saving tackle was better. Showed who he is as a player. And that's why I think the Rams signed him. Bill, that's why I think Donald would be able to help us get sacks. They were great stopping the run yesterday. They were really great. What did they hold the Lions to? 70 total yards stopping the run. No big plays. I'm a big Jahmyr Gibbs fan, and they did a great job. I wouldn't be against Aaron Donald coming in, swooping in for a shot at another ring. Pony Express. The other thing I hate is the bend but don't break philosophy. Also, Colby Durant was horrible in his technique and his zone coverage. I would like to see the Rams man up in the red zone. I prefer more man up. I do. Was that the one that Brady was talking about with Durant? Is that he leveraged him inside? And I wasn't sure. Was he expecting, again, the miscommunication? Were they expecting safety help, and was somebody not where they should have been? That's a good point there. USA Expert, why do you think Witherspoon was inactive? Yeah, healthy scratch. I do not know. Maybe they're just playing it slow with him. I do not know, but it seemed like it's a pretty big game for him to play. We're going to know a lot if he doesn't play on Thursday. And if he does play on Thursday, he'll have fresh legs. Maybe they're saving him for JSN, right? Tim Burns, who's better, Atwell or Van Jefferson? Atwell by far. Atwell by far is better than Van Jefferson. But Jefferson has height. Jefferson can block. Jefferson can do a few different things. But I would prefer talent-wise, I would prefer Atwell. Let's see. Bill, if Adams is out for the rest of the season, should we pick up Beckham or Cooks? Well, Cooks has already landed somewhere. I think he landed in, was it Pittsburgh? Where did Cooks land? Cooks landed Buffalo or something. And we just talked about OBJ. Yeah. Let's see. Ron Reese. Tell that to Travis about Tutu. No, Tutu's the villain. Tutu will always be the villain on that show. Pony Express. No more soft coverage inside the 20. I think I know why Shula goes with this coverage, and it's probably because of the matchup. They've always had, this is the whole ongoing since Staley came and brought the Fangio defense in, is they've always been this way. It's always been a little frustrating, right? It's this bend, don't break until you get inside the 20, and then one of your stars is going to make a big play. And it is frustrating. And it wouldn't be so. I bring up not getting home on the pass rush, not bringing enough hurt. So, yeah, I think, one thing plays off of another. USA Expat, Rams need to bring back that special healing trailer they used on Stafford. There you go. And put Devontae Adams in there and Quentin Lake in there and put everyone else in there for 3 days until the game with the Seahawks is over. Speaking of the Detroit Lions, I did catch a show this morning where it said one of the hosts of the show basically said to Detroit, "Hey man, reality set in. You need to get your new offensive coordinator." and because they didn't replace Ben Johnson, I guess, with anybody famous. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the Lions just scored 34 points against the Rams with no running game because the Rams stopped the running game, and they scored 34 points. And suddenly, you're hearing the media talk about how the Lions need a new offensive coordinator. I don't think that was it. They need someone to keep everybody healthy. Let's see here. If I miss you, I do apologize. Bill, now the media is bringing up Josh Allen as MVP. It's Stafford hands down. Give it to Josh Allen. I just don't care. I don't care. And in the end, I don't think Stafford cares. I saw the breakdown yesterday at the end of the locker room speech. Everyone's yelling MVP, and he kind of just smiled and waved it off. I don't think anyone gives a rat's keister about the MVP. I don't think he does. If the KBM wants to, it's a talking point for the KBM. It is boring to me. Rams mob. Tutu is needed now. Yeah. I mean, they have to start scheming him just a little bit more. Rams mom, Devontae will be back for the playoffs. And that's when I want to see him, right? I want to see him in the playoffs. We know we're not going to see him Thursday night. And if you don't see him Thursday night, there's no reason to see him against Atlanta or Arizona, right? Let's see here. Tim Burns. Kyler is taking ground balls this week. Is he going back to baseball? I thought he couldn't hit the curve. He's talking about Kyler Murray, not Kyron Williams. Josh Allen has got a Super Bowl ring. Stafford has one. Josh Allen does not have a Super Bowl ring. Stafford has one. There you go. Yeah. Tim Burns. Detroit is the leading scorer in the NFL. The OC is doing an outstanding job. Not according to the media. That part was that one's just kind of funny. Yeah, I got you, Willie. I know what you're saying. Josh Allen doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Stafford has one. Yeah, no, I got you on that one, Chief. I hope I corrected a little bit. Let's look here. Was it in 2022 that Blake Corum in his junior year had the knee injury at Michigan? And then he came back in 2023 and he was Mr. Touchdown, right? But it looked like that knee injury had maybe cost him some of his explosiveness. Do you remember that? And then my thought was he wasn't going to be the same. Effective, he was pretty special before that knee injury in Michigan. And I'm watching him when they drafted him. I thought, okay, he's a nice, decent player. He's going to be okay. But, man, did you see him explode on those corners? The touchdown run. He hits, and he just jumps to the side and just outruns everybody. Hey, no slamming Kyron Williams. Runs great with his eyes, all that stuff. Love Kyron. But I think I discounted, and maybe we all did. Maybe. I'll say I did. I don't know what you guys thought. I thought Corum's days as a home run hitter were over. And I think we're seeing that this guy, maybe he's not a Ohtani power hitter, but maybe he's just one of those guys that's going to hit 25 to 30 every year because he has the ability. I mean, he hit those corners a couple times. I'm thinking, golly, did this guy have that knee injury or what? Or is he now maybe just fully recovered from that knee injury? I'd be curious to know what you guys thought. Let's see. Pony Express. The pass rush needs to be consistent. At times they disappear in the first half, but after making second half adjustments, they came out. Yeah, and they shut them down, essentially holding the Lions to 3 points in the second half. I will give credit to $5 Steve, who clicks on quite a bit here, former sports writer, worked in an opposite paper of me. He brought up that we've seen this now kind of building, is that the Rams kind of have that adjustment start. They get a drive, give up a drive early, give up a score early. We saw that against Arizona, especially last week, and then they tighten the ship up. This was the Lions, far more special than the Cardinals, but this was the Lions. And again, proof: if you don't knock Goff off his spot, he's going to kill you. And people talk about Stafford being a statue. Yeah, I don't think so. I think we know who the statue is, man. That guy's pretty brutal. Let's see here. Bill, was it smart to run Puka on a running play? Yeah, I thought that same thing. Now, they said it was just cramps. But he looks like he took that a little gingerly. But again, yeah, I'd like to see. I don't want to see him go out that way. I do appreciate the fact that the Rams just weren't going to dive into the line. I'm glad they didn't pass the ball, but they tried something creative, and it's worked before this year. It didn't work this time, but they forced the Lions to use all their timeouts. But I have to admit, with 23 seconds left, I was a little bit concerned. Honestly, my hope is after Thursday we don't play Puka again either. Now I know that doesn't wrap up the whole NFC number 1 seed, but Rams could beat anybody anywhere. I truly believe that they're capable of it, but you got to have all your guys, and I don't want to see anybody go down. Pony Express, Blake Corum excels with his jump cuts that allows him to get outside quicker. Yeah, I just didn't think he had that in him. Anymore. Tim Burns, thoughts on Burrows catching flack from his own people? I hate to look past Stafford, but I see an opportunity. I would be a little more into it if he wasn't so freaking brittle. That's my thing with Joe Burrow. If he wasn't so brittle, I'd be a little more into it. But there could be an opportunity there, right? And maybe, but he's had significant injuries. I mean, turf toe is not something light, or that was torn ligaments in his toe, and then the knee injuries. I don't know. If you're playing, it's like they used to say about players that put on Yankee pinstripes. They're very ordinary, and then they put on pinstripes, they become extraordinary. Players that were very ordinary, suddenly they go to Boston with the Celtics, and they became extraordinary, right? We're also seeing that kind of like with the Dodgers now. Guys that everyone gives up on, the Dodgers get a Max Muncy, give them a decade worth of home run hitting and clutch play. Maybe Burrow comes to the Rams eventually, but and he plays great, he stays healthy, but he's never healthy. Let's see, Rams Mob. Kyron and Corum 1-2 punch. Pretty good display there, considering they were playing against Montgomery and Gibbs. I think people are going to have to really assess this Williams and Corum backfield. Pretty good. Let's see. Mr. Burns. No one else will say it. I like Goff. He made us relevant again. I love the dude, just not yesterday. You've always been a Goff guy. We'll say that from the get-go. I've known this from Burns for a few years now. He's always been a Goff guy. Goff is good, but here's Stafford, right? Goff is good to great. Stafford is great to legendary, right? And so that's where it's at. Rams Mob. Ethan Evans took like 10 seconds off the clock. I was so glad they mentioned that. I counted that. It was 21 when he kicked. When the ball landed, there was 13 seconds left. So it was like 8 seconds that he took off the clock. I got no problem with Ethan Evans, and I think we're feeling really good about our kicker these days. Side note, USA Expat, we're only about a month away for you to bring out the Ram socks. Okay, so we are going to pull out the Ram socks, right here. I haven't worn them since Super Bowl 56, so they got good vibes in them, right? There's good vibes in there, so you let me know. Okay, Rams Mob talking to Willie. Pony Express. To me, it seems like the Rams relaxed after going up 2 scores, and they need to continue to shut the door on these teams when they have the momentum. To some extent, but I also think, I think they know who the Lions were. I don't know. I really like the Lions. I think the Lions are very good. So I'm going to give them credit. Those receivers are amazing. Willie Bowen, I missed Willie Bowen. Let's see, what do you say here? I skipped over your chat message. Let me scroll this back here, Willie. I see you saying hi to Rams Mob. What else we got here? Willie. Let's see. All right, there we go, Willie. LA defense must put pressure on the opposing quarterback and stop the run. They stopped the run yesterday. They did a great job stopping the run yesterday, but they did not get to the quarterback. So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement with you there, Willie. Sorry about that. The great Tim Burns. A's fans are bitter giving up Muncy. They found another third baseman, Max Muncy. Yeah, does he go yard like the previous Max Muncy? I'm kind of curious about that. Again, yeah, I talked about how I took a shot at the defense but they did hold that running game to 70 yards. That was awesome. Hope Braden Fisk, his ankle is not too swelled up. I got to believe he's going to play on Thursday. Hey, did anybody notice this? I was surprised Detroit didn't create opportunities to ISO Jahmyr Gibbs on Spates and Landman in the passing attack. I really, because I've seen them pass to Gibbs this year and Montgomery, but mostly Gibbs. And I thought, man, that would be a great advantage for them, but they never used that. I really expected that, and I never saw it. And so be curious to know what your guys' thoughts are on that. I love the swarm mentality on Gibbs. It was nice. Mr. Burns. Yeah, they did a great job. But did you notice they didn't pass him the ball? Number 8, my other point here, we should all have the confidence in life that Matthew Stafford has when throwing to his receivers. I've seen confident quarterbacks, man, but that guy's something else, right? I mean, aren't you just so grateful Matthew Stafford plays for your team? And then if you're just a football fan, that you've gotten to see him up close these last 4 or 5 years, right? I thought we were going to get 2 years out of Stafford, and we are in 5th, and he's 5th, and he's playing even better than we thought. Pony Express, Shelton needs to do a better job on his snaps when Stafford is in the shotgun formation. That was weird. We hadn't seen that all year, and there were some real misconnections there in that. And I was really, really surprised by that. That was weird how they struggled in that one, in that part of the game. Hey, guys, I'm going to press on here for another few minutes. This is really long. I usually don't go this long on RamView Wrap-Up. My day, as I'm looking at some of my notes here and messages coming in, is kind of spinning out of control. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get on later on for a full RamView broadcast. So let's keep talking here for a few more minutes and just look around the NFL a little bit. Everyone's in love with the Bears right now because they beat the Browns, but you beat the Browns. I mean, you should beat the Browns, right? 31-3. Ravens beat the Bengals. Bengals have, I think, checked out on the year. Ravens stay alive, stay relevant. Big one for the Steelers tonight. And I know Steeler fan Rob's all over my case because I took the Dolphins. In normal conditions, Dolphins are going to kick the Steelers' butt. But I doubt the weather will be normal. I think it's going to be really cold, and we know how Dolphins play in cold weather, especially Tua. No big surprise there. Texans smashed the Cardinals. No big surprise. Jaguars smashed the Jets. Chiefs ended badly yesterday. One of the few times I took the Chargers and it actually paid off for me. And the Bolts got out of there. The Bolts have now won 10 games, but I'm trying to remember who they finished with. I think they finished with the Broncos and the Texans, and they got a brutal schedule going forward. Patriots lost. Young team got schooled again by the Bills. Not again, but the fact that I think Josh Allen was the difference, right? And you want to give Josh Allen MVP, give him MVP. Put a ring on Stafford, but give Allen the trophy. Eagles Raiders. I switched to the Eagles defense yesterday, and I got 25 points out of it on my fantasy team. So thank you, Philly. Packers Broncos. I took the Packers, and the Broncos won. I think again, I'm not a huge. He's a great player, but I don't think he's the difference. I think there's a lot of good players on that Packer defense. I think he's a nice luxury piece. And unfortunately, Micah Parsons is down now. But I think the bigger deal might be on offense. They lost Watson. I think that was a knee injury too. Panthers had a chance to do something special, and they went and choked it away against the Saints. Colts, Seahawks, man, I'm all in with Phillip Rivers. I was ready to come out and tell you I've always been a Phillip Rivers fan. And then, the Seahawks got that field goal in the last minutes there. I was rooting for the Colts. And then, of course, Titans, 49ers. Everyone's talking about how great the 49ers are. They beat the Titans, guys. They beat the Titans. And I noticed, at least in the first 20 minutes of his show, Colin Cowherd was very quiet about J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy looked pretty good last night in the Vikings beating of Dallas. That was pretty special. And I missed – I took the Cowboys in that one. I took the Cowboys. So it's been a rough year for me with picks. Let's keep pressing. Let's see. the great Tim Burns. Let's see what he got here. You wonder why Stafford put up with his loudmouth wife, but when you see her in the crowd, that is a beautiful family. I assume so. 4 daughters. I had 3 daughters, but yeah, he has 4. That's why I'm surprised he keeps playing. Right? He's set for like 360 rocks. He's got a ring. It's like, bro, maybe you want to slow down a little bit, but all right. I hope he keeps playing well and doesn't get hurt. Willie Bowen, Pastor Joe, why do the media always put hate coverage on the Rams? I do not know. But I don't think there's any love lost. Pony Express, or the Niners feasting off a cupcake schedule. They are feasting off a cupcake schedule, but I'll give them credit. They're pretty messed up personnel-wise, and they're still doing it. They're doing what they should do. Rams beat Lions, Scooble, a Dodger soon. Yeah, I love hearing all the unfair. I want the Dodgers to do something that doesn't affect the Mets, because I've been getting my butt kicked in regards to that. Bill in Philly, the Rams are picking 10th in the upcoming draft. Falcons play Arizona this week. Yeah, Buccaneers really let us down. Really let us down. I'm really disappointed in the Buccaneers. Merry Christmas, RamView. Thank you very much, Mr. Burns. All right. Let me keep pressing on here. I shared this what was it on Friday or Saturday morning. I shared this on Saturday morning show. Let me see if I can get this in here again. Boom. This is the salary cap for next year. You guys see that? This is where everyone's at. You saw the Chiefs yesterday. You saw the injury to Patrick Mahomes. You saw Travis Kelce probably walk off the field. That story is ending. And this is the bottom end of the salary cap as of next year. Look where the Chiefs are right there. Now they're going to get a decent draft pick, but look where they are. That's brutal. Same thing with the Cowboys. And it's like, they're going to have to make some hard decisions. Now, think of the Cowboys. They're already 47 in the red, and the Cowboys just got bounced from the playoffs. George Pickens has had a great year, right? George Pickens has had a great year. And, but are you really going to re-sign him when you're almost 50 rocks in debt going into next year? That one's going to be brutal. They're going to have to make some serious moves. Look at the Chiefs. I don't know how you get better, right? You better nail your draft picks. Look at the Saints. That they should have moved off Kamara and some of these other guys a long time ago, and they keep holding on to them. Look at the Browns. That's, of course, Deshaun Watson. Look at the Bills. So, yeah, there are teams that are in serious trouble next year. And what fixes that is the draft. If you remember when the Rams, after the 2022 season, this is another funny line here is, when's that bill going to come due? The F them picks crowd, right? Everyone was slamming the Rams on F them picks, and everyone's laughing in 2022. And, of course, not really paying attention or acknowledging the 2022 offensive line chainsaw massacre where everybody got wiped out on that offensive line, except for Havenstein. And they were all mocking the Rams. The Bills come due. In 2023, Vegas projected them having 4.5 wins. Rams moved off Bobby Wagner. They moved off Jalen Ramsey. They let a lot of guys walk, like Greg Gaines and other people, Nick Scott, and all these guys had to go and walk. And then, of course, they ended up winning 10 games and going to the playoffs in 2023. They ended up winning 10 games last year and going to the playoffs, right, and winning a game. And now they're 11-3. Right now, they've clinched another playoff berth. When was that bill going to come due for draft picks, right? When was it? You got to give credit to the Rams, and they make painful moves. I didn't want them to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. I didn't want them to get rid of Bobby Wagner. Cooper Kupp, you could see it, but, Rams are not emotional. They make great calls. They make great choices, and you don't see them 40 rocks in debt with the team in trouble. They made some great moves, and this is so encouraging for the Rams going forward. Bill, I'm ignoring you, Mr. Burns. Bill, You look at the salary cap for the Chiefs, we have a shot to get Travis Kelce if we want him. We don't want Travis Kelce, right? Bill, are you serious? I don't want Travis Kelce. No, go away. Go away. That dude's more washed than my dad's blue jeans. I mean, that guy is washed. I don't want any of that. And I definitely don't want, Travis Swift or Taylor Kelce playing for the Rams. Anyway, Greg Scott, 2005. What's the deadline for signing Darnold? I doubt it would happen, but we relived this. We relived this last year. That's a really long shot. I think if it happens, great. But remember, the Rams signed Eric Weddle at the end of the season back in 2021. Remember, he was out for 2 years, and they brought him in, and then the guy was contributing in the Super Bowl. So that's I would say that's always a possibility, a super long shot. But I think you could pick him up at almost any point. I would believe. I would believe that. I would love for it to happen. Did you also, speaking of the defense, though, did you see how many snaps DeJuan Johnson was getting out there on the edge? It's like suddenly this guy has found great favor with the Rams after not playing for 2 months, right? Played week 3 and then was inactive the rest of the time. Never really heard about an injury. If he was injured, no one talked about it, or it's not been stated. He was just inactive. And then they activate him, and then they put Nick Hampton in the street. He circles back, is now on the practice squad. But you're seeing DeJuan Johnson getting some significant snaps. And I'm wondering, what's going on there. I know each week you see Byron Young. They say he's nursing a tender knee in the injury report. And Braden Fisk. If Braden Fisk has anything wrong with that ankle that's lingering, Poona Ford has had a calf injury, I think they've been talking about, that he's been nursing. Rams could look at that and say, hey, Aaron, do you want to come in? It would make sense if those guys are banged up. Just his presence alone, I think, would be great. Mr. Burns trying to set me up here. You have 3 daughters, Turoz, and have a 25-year-old 6'6" son. You want to be related. Unbelievable. My youngest just turned 20. There you go. My oldest just turned 30. Bill, how about the Cowboys salary cap situation and going after Pickens? Pickens does not fit the Rams personality phase, right? He's just not one of those guys. Plus, he doesn't like to block. He's just not one of those guys. He's moody. Yeah, he's not a locker room guy. I think we'd sooner see, you or me signed as a backup quarterback than George Pickens brought in. I don't see it happening. Willie Bowen is certain Aaron Donald isn't coming out of retirement. Yeah. I will say this. I doubt very much that Aaron Donald's coming out of retirement. But did anyone think Phillip Rivers was coming out of retirement? Right? That blew me away. Who would have thunk that? That one was pretty amazing. All right. Let's take a look. Let's go back to the top here as we close in on 40 minutes. This weird version of RamView wrap-up. Again, I apologize for my scheduling issues, but it's just the job. The job does this to me. The Rams front line, the interior, I don't really care about what PFF grades them at. They did a fantastic job. Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, Aiden Hutchinson. They did a fantastic job on those guys. Warren McClendon has proven again now, even with Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of him, that, hey, he can handle this job. I think the Rams have found their right tackle. I know I was hesitant to say, hey, he's the right tackle for the rest of this year. I was hesitant to say he's the right tackle going forward into the next free agency period and the next draft period. But I think he fits the suit, and he's playing well. I've confessed to you guys, I'm feeling the Rams pass rush is a bit overrated. I'm not as down on the secondary as everybody else is. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams are elite. I will agree. I don't know if it was Pony, Bill, or one of the other guys that brought up There are some issues there. I thought the Kobe Durant, because Tom Brady brought it up well, that he leveraged the receiver inside and there was no help from the safety. And that's a breakdown in the secondary. That needs to be adjusted. But just in terms of talent level, I'm not worried about the corners of the secondary. They got to button things up, of course, but the pass rush has to get home. It just has to get home. And you can't leave a quarterback like Goff, just standing straight up. Colby Parkinson has proved he was worth his contract. It's time to see Tutu Atwell get more plays. And I'm worried about the wide receiver room. I think of all the rooms that are thin on the Rams, it is the wide receiver room. And I'd be curious to know who you guys think will be the one that steps up. And I'll leave it at that. Who do you think is going to step up? And you're right, Willie. Anything is possible nowadays. Who do you think is going to step up? Because I'm still, Stafford missed Ferguson on it. Would have been a sure touchdown yesterday. He hit him in the end zone and he dropped it, but he was interfered with. He was basically, beaten up in that end zone. But they're just this close, right? And when Stafford and Ferguson start connecting, I think that's the difference. That would preclude me from thinking from a reach out for some other guy, an OBJ at the end. I think Ferguson is the key here. If they find a way to really get Ferguson activated, he could be the blow up because we're just waiting for that to happen. I think he could be the guy, the diamond in the rough. Burrell Stouffer, 2817. Thank you for clicking on, man. I do appreciate it. Yes, sir. How about the Rams winning and beating the Lions? I want to destroy the Sea Chickens. Well, I thought what was cool is even Stafford in his post game, he was very not downcast, very subdued. He just got a great win against a significant opponent, but they were very subdued, and they were very much focused on, hey, we got another game. And I think this is what I've shared this the last week, Burrell and others. I shared it that I really liked about this was, it's a quick turnaround, but this just keeps you focused. You can't think about the what ifs. It's like, I don't care. But 72 hours, I'm flying to Seattle, and I got to be ready to play. And if I came out of this one relatively healthy, then I'm ready to knock heads. The Seahawks were not that impressive against the Colts. Now, the Colts are a decent team, but they're really, really banged up. They lost Javarius Ward. They lost Sauce Gardner, and the great Sam Darnold couldn't light them up for a touchdown? Could not light them up for a touchdown? They needed, 6 field goals to beat the Colts? And I'm sorry. You talk about us leaving Jared Goff standing up. How did Phillip Rivers do what he did, right? That was not an impressive performance by Seattle. Could Seattle have been thinking about the Rams, right? Could they have been overlooking the Colts and thinking about the Rams, where the Rams had the advantage of, man, we can't look past the Lions or we'll get our butt kicked. So I do like the Rams on Thursday, not just because I'm a fanboy. I don't think I'm a fanboy, but I do like their chances. I like their focus, and it'll be a brutal game, but I like the Rams in this game. If you had to ask me right now, I'd say Rams 20-17 right now. That's what I would say right now. I don't know for sure. Mr. Powers out in Irvine. What has he got to say? Nothing better than watching crying Jared knocked off his feet. Do you not like Mr. Goff? Huh? Do you not like him, Mr. Powers? I would think your boy Colby. Are you a Colby guy? You love those blue-collar tight end types. I would have thought you'd been really happy. You were a big Johnny Munt guy, if I remember. Pony Express. Corners got to do better. Verse and Young have to really step up. I think Whittington and Mumfield have an opportunity now as well as Ferguson, but it is next man up. Hey, did you see how close Mumfield came to making that catch? Yeah, I know. Michael Negretti, is it 4 o'clock already? No, Mike. I came on about 45 minutes ago just to do the RamView wrap-up, and my phone kind of blew up a little bit, and I got some – I'm not going to say emergencies. I just got some stuff that came up with my other job that I got to deal with, and I thought I might not be able to get back on later today. So, no, you're not in some time-space continuum flux or anything like that. Tim Burns, what is your thought on Thursday? I think we just scored 41, so I'm not worried about Seattle. You heard my breakdown on Seattle right now. I wasn't impressed with them against the Colts. Kept going back and forth. We couldn't knock down Goff, but they certainly kept, Phillip Rivers alive, and they couldn't get in the end zone with their great receiving core and JSN and the legendary Sam Darnold. They couldn't punch one in. I couldn't believe that. I think they're vulnerable on offense. The defense is coming out full steam. The defense is playing hard. It would be beautiful to see the Rams put 4 quarters of football together defensively and really shut them down. I'm going to say it, 2017 right now, Rams, but I might change that by Wednesday. All right, what else we got here? Anything else, guys? Did I miss anybody? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break now. I will be back. If I can't be back later today, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I will be back tomorrow. I usually don't broadcast on Tuesday, but I will broadcast on Tuesday in that 3 to 4 o'clock hour. And we'll wrap up tonight's game, and we'll talk more about going forward into Seattle, because we're on to Seattle, right? We're on to Seattle. Just a reminder, we want to say thank you to Kistler Law. They do keep us afloat in this business. And of course, Game Day in the Ram Cave. Be sure to check that out. Available on Amazon. All right, guys. God bless. Take care. And appreciate your time here. Michael Negretti, real quick here.